Oh gosh. I'll get started in a second. Well, I'll say a minute. I won't say a second. I'll say a minute. Oh, this was metal. So this is El Coser, right? You got your professionals in teaching a class on scuba. You see the change in striation of the color from the light blue, that's like shallow water, into the little darkness, into a deeper blue, and that's what the corals are. So this is my view every day for like the last 4 or 5 days. Lots of people come from Switzerland, Germany, and different countries to do this. It's obviously or evidently the best. I was out there one day, didn't quite make it. Your girl couldn't do it. It was too much for my nostrils to have it closed off. And looking at the sky. And for the last day or so, oh my gosh, the neighborhood is moving. So you can see the neighbors. I got to get off the beach because I'm stepping on the neighbors. If you stay still long enough, you can see everything is moving and alive. So I pulled a card the other day and it was NUIT. And everybody talks about Isis. A lot of people talk about Hathor, but they don't even, a lot of people don't know who Hathor is. But it doesn't seem like NUIT gets any airtime. Like, who is NUIT? Her name is even weird, like Newt. Like you only think of the lizard, you think of a newt. I just came back inside my little hut place. I should have showed you that. I'll flip it around. So this is one of those little cabanas that you could sit in. So I'm sitting inside a little cabana. Ah, you can love the beach, but you can sure get tired of sand, can't you? So I pulled a card on Newt, and I guess I could start with that first. And then get into who is Newt and what we can learn from Newt. Just keep saying her name. And ultimately, yeah, she has to be one of the women of the stars, right? Newt. Look at her. She is the sky. She swallows the sun so that the moon can rule over the night. And then she gives birth to the sun again the next day. That's one powerful chick, right? That's one powerful broad. I'm using bad words, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? Might be a bad word. But that's one powerful lady. I'll just keep that right there. Because this is about Newt. The ultimate woman of the stars, right? But why don't we hear more about her? I mean, she's got a beautiful carving on the Edfu temple. She's on the ceiling. It's freaking amazing how long her body is, and her little arms are stretched out. It's amazing. If you want to see pictures, you can look it up online or let me know, and I can share with you the pictures and videos that I have. And then also she has several places in the Hathor temple. And I was just studying her face the other day. And it's not this super happy face, it's kind of a sad face. But it was just a beautiful face. And I really think I started to connect with her for the first time. And the other day, it was solstice, and I was sitting under the stars because I wanted to video under the stars, and I lit a candle. And so the two cards I pulled, one was NUIT, which is, the sky and the stars, and the other one, I can't say the name of it, but that card has to do with the internal fire. It's Horus's sun. So NUIT is the primal, like prime, mother goddess whose body is the arching star-fledged sky. She was separated from her husband, the god Jeb, so that humans could live on earth. Her father, the sun god Ra, forbade her to give birth to her 5 children: Isis, Osiris, Nephthys, and they would call not major Horus. Um, I don't know. It seems like there's 2 versions of Horus. And this version of Horus, let me see. There's 2 versions of Horus. I don't want to waste or take too much time away with doing that. If I see it in my notes, I'll bring it back up. But it's like a major Horus or a senior type Horus. Because in one aspect, Horus is the son of Isis and the son of Isis and Osiris. But then it says there's also Newt has a son named Horus and a son named Set. And Tahuti, the god of the moon, Tahuti, I don't know. Tahuti is Thoth. And then the moon god Khonsu worked together to give her 5 days at a time so that she could have these children. And Newt symbolizes the separations, delays, eventual success by divine intervention. And I get that. Because she wanted to have children, but Ra, the sun god, who would be Ra, Amun Ra, Marduk, put her foot down and said no. So she couldn't take time off work to have her kids. And it says, I am the goddess of the day sky and the starry sky. I'm the mother of Aset and all of Egypt. And I tell you the answers you seek can be found in numerology, astrology, and correct timing of events. That that didn't even strike me, even when I was thinking about this, that she would be the ultimate teacher because she involves astrology and numerology. That's her realm. That's what she rules over. The stars in the sky, the time of the day. She sets the clock. It's really like ringing into me now. And so it's saying to be patient and whatnot, right? So her picture, I got a really ugly picture. Like that's her face. It's like her arms and her face. So the sun god Ra, who is her father basically, she swallows him. But here's a little thing about this. In the Bible, it says it was basically like there was no form, and God called upon himself to separate himself into form, right? And then he separates the dry air from the condensation. So the dry air would be Shu. The condensation would be Tefnut. And then he calls apart the different aspects of creation. And then it says from Shu and Tefnut come Nut and Jeb, which is the sky and the earth. And then it's like, let there be light. And so one of the things that it says in the Bible too, it says, he gives them domain, which is rulership. So he's giving them rulership over these things. So then imagine that's like, boom, this thing separates, becomes a god. This thing separates, becomes a god. And in Egyptian culture, they would call it the natures or the neteru or the natures, because these are the aspects of nature. But even so, what we learn is that we are each what? God in a human form, a piece of him separated into an individual aspect expressing itself. And so it's the same thing with the natures or the neteru, that Shu, the dry air, and the light separate from the condensation, and then they split up from earth and water and sky and land. And here comes Newt. And but you don't hear much about her, right? So she is the divine, the ultimate divine feminine, because she actually swallows the sun, because we need the sun, right? But only for a certain time. If we had everything on high heat all day, I don't think humans would make it without, I don't think we would make it. So it's like she's regulating how much is enough. There's enough sunlight to make things grow, enough to give the heat, enough to give energy, and then she can put the sun away and let it rest and allow us to enjoy the moonlight. And certain things grow in the moonlight too. If you check out the Farmer's Almanac, they'll tell you that above ground seeds you grow during the new moon, and below ground seeds, plants that grow below ground, you grow during the full moon. I might have it backwards, but if you check out the Farmer's Almanac, I know that I have to look at it every time if I'm going to plant a seed. So everything has a season, so then it becomes the seasons. But in it, it's giving you this small anecdote of what is really happening in the Bible. It's giving you like this tiny little bit of what is actually happening, how the natures are separating themselves. So she is the daughter of Shu and Tefnut. Her father, Shu, is the god of the wind, air, and light. Tefnut is a lioness goddess of the water, fertility. And so you think of emotions and the feminine aspects. Now you could say this is Tefnut, but there was a prayer that we learned when you read the Sophia code. And I'm saying this because Newt swallows the sun so that it becomes nothing. And then it's reborn every day. So you listen to this and tell me if this doesn't sound like Newt, because the divine Sophia prayer is, Divine Mother of all life, take me to that place deep within your womb where I know nothing and I can be reborn new. And for some reason, when I was in the temples, Sophia code doesn't necessarily mix that prayer with Egyptology, even though, the Sophia tribe includes Isis and Hathor. But when you say, take me into your womb where I know nothing and I can be reborn new, take me into the darkness and let me know nothing so that I can be reborn new. I can start the day over brand new. I can start my life over brand new. I can be reborn on a daily basis. Doesn't mean you have to come back out dumb, but you can let go of the things you don't need and start over. And to me, it sounded a lot like the goddess Sophia, but she is actually taking in Amun Ra and starting over every day, starting over every day. And so Amun Ra, some people translate him as Zeus or Marduk. Now, why I found her ultimate, like the ultimate aspect of womanhood, is she was forbade from having children because she was too good at her job. They wanted her on the clock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. So to fix that, Thoth or Tahuti, along with Kansu, stretched out the days to squeeze in 5 extra days. And so in Egyptology, you would call those the 5 days at a time. And that would be, I believe that's Christmas to the New Year's. That's when they also have that Hathor festival as well that we talked about on the roof of the Hathor temple. But ultimate woman, she had to squirrel away for herself. This is a great example for you as a woman and as a man. I tend to find that men are a little more separate with their dealings anyway, so they don't have to worry about separating themselves to make sure that they have time. This is usually a thing that women do. They overgive to the point that they don't have anything left for themselves, whether it be time, energy, any kind of fun. So think about that. Set aside time, money, resources for yourself. You cannot give away 100% of yourself all the time. It made me think of those songs. Girls just want to have fun. I want to get away. I want to fly away. I'm not a good singer. But all those songs where it's like, I want to get away. I want to hide. I want a place to myself. And the things that women want. What do women want? Like, we want all this love and affection. And we give a lot of energy to get it, but then we have to get it from ourselves. You know what I'm saying? You can't expect other people to totally get it. Hey, Nikki, we got to get it for ourselves. So one thing about it, she was too useful, because sometimes you can be too useful and people find that you're useful. They really take advantage of the fact that you're useful, and everybody wants you around. And I got to this point where I started just really saying to myself, like, I'm not a Pokemon. I'm not, you know what a Pokemon is? It's a pocket monster. So you can take it out anytime you want and use it, right? Because it's so useful. But the Pokemon is in the person's pocket and they pop it out. And I noticed that a lot of times, even when it comes to female friends especially, maybe they're not getting what they want out of their relationship. And so they got their best friend. And they best friend, they want to drag you around shopping and talking and solving problems because they're not getting what they want out of their life or their relationship, and they're not doing it for themselves. And so it can become very one way. It can become very, I don't know how to say it. It just becomes a one-way street sometimes when you have friends that they can take and borrow and take energy and get advice and have you listen. But God forbid, if you needed any of those things for yourself, they aren't that person for you. And so it becomes an imbalanced relationship. And a lot of the times I find that people use you when their relationships aren't going great. When their relationships going great, you don't hardly see people. But when their relationships aren't going well, they're all in your face with all their problems and thoughts and all their. So just be careful of these things. This is a lesson from NUIT. Take 5 days at a time, right? So she was just so good at her job. Another thing that she does is she takes the heat, right? She swallows it. And a lot of times we do that. We take the heat for others. We take the blame. We apologize. It's always our fault. It's never anybody else's fault. We're always, we don't put lines in the sand and 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 call people out, and we take all of it on for ourselves. If something happens with our kids, it's all our fault. If something happens with our friends, family, or spouse, we easily can say, oh, I'm so sorry. I should have done this. And we're always thinking of all the things that we could have done for people, not letting them take responsibility for their own actions. And that's dangerous for you. It's burdensome for you. It's an ego killer. It can just totally devour your spirit when you're always taking on the blame and responsibility for other people. Um, and it made me think about what women do too, like how we cool off the food for our children. We cool off the temperature of our mate. Like, no, calm down, sweetie. No, it's okay. You know, we make others listen to reason. We pour into other people motherly advice. And that's what she's doing. Like, she's literally taking the heat. She's swallowing the sun. She's cooling off the earth. She's allowing things to grow. So she's, just the fact of swallowing the sun. And I was just thinking about, like, shh, it's so hot. Like when you burn your fingers cooking. And I was thinking about how the other day I keep, I was in Aswan and the Nubian village, and I saw how the Nubian women cook bread. And then I was in Dendera and I saw how um, the Egyptian women there made bread, and they were outside in that hot, with that hot stove, and there's like dung mixed with straw that's been cured by the sun, but they were throwing it in that fire. Woo, 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 woo. It was so hot. And then just to make bread, y'all, we go to the store for bread most of the time, but they were so proud of this bread, and they were making about 40 loaves at a time. I said, how often do they make it? And it said, depends on how many people are coming to eat. If we have company or not, they make more bread. But it could be from 15 days apart to 5 days apart. And I was thinking, why am I over here messing with this stove? Mm. They were taking that heat, and they were proud of it. They were proud of all the work that they do. I mean, getting up and having breakfast started cooking at 6 a.m., things like that. Definitely, as I started to think about NUIT, I started to think about, yeah, ultimately what women do, what we give up to get what we want, what we give up for others, the nurturing ability, the protective ability, and the balancing ability. And I think of Ra, when I think of the sun god Ra too, I think about anger and pain and wrath. And then she allows the moon to rule in the night. And it did have something to do with Thoth, so that Thoth could rule in the day, in the night. I'm saying in the night, that she curbed the anger and released the logic and wisdom. So she's balancing between anger versus knowledge and wisdom. There's a time you have to do that at home too with your family. Like, there's a time for people to fight. You can't always discourage people from fighting, because sometimes people need to fight. They need to stand up for themselves, and they need to fight. And so you have to actually know the balance with your kids. Like, should they have that fight? Should they stand up for themselves? Your spouse, you want them, or your mate, you want them to be able to protect your family. You can't always stop them from fighting, but you have to know, to have the wisdom to say, you know what? I'm gonna let him do his thing. I'm gonna let her do her thing. I'm gonna let them do their thing. And then when they going too far, now I'm gonna say, hey, pull it back, pull it back. calm that anger down. We home now. You can relax, you know. So I had thought about that too when I was at the airport, and I was with this Egyptian couple, and she was like, no, 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 and she was trying to squash him from talking trash. But when I watched this whole situation play out, I understood he had to talk trash because what he was doing was setting a boundary in front of another person to let them know, like, hey, I'm taking care of these two ladies. If you mess something up for us, I'm gonna mess you up. And so he put his foot down, and I was just thinking how sometimes we want to keep things calm and quiet because that's how we are as the ladies. We want to be that soothing, calm energy. But there's a time when you have to allow the male energy to take charge and handle business and do its thing. So we have to know when to turn the switches on and off. And this is what I see in NUIT. She knows. She's got the day perfectly divided. She's got the seasons divided. And she's also balancing, hey, I got time for myself. I got time for my kids. I got time for my family. And she really is ultimately one of the most magnificent women of the stars that no one talks about. So let me know what you think. Oh yeah, and then her poor man is on Earth and she's up in the sky, so she gotta like squeeze time in to get some with her man, you know? That's so funny. And then let me know what you think of that prayer. Divine Mother of all life, take me to that place deep within your womb where I know nothing and I can be reborn new. And you can repeat that sometimes when you want to just let go of everything and come to a new understanding on a situation where you're like, I'm done with this. Nothing I can do with it. I need some help. And seek that prayer where you can just pull back your energy, pull back your solitude, think to yourself. I think a great time to do that is before you go to bed and then wake back up. I mean, you might say that until you fall asleep and then wake up. And maybe you wake up with a new understanding. But give me some thumbs up, share it, and let me know how you feel about that message. Next time I see you, I should be in maybe Luxor tomorrow, right?